My name is Johnson. I work here at Torrey State Natural Reserve. Well, welcome. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to show you our park. Well, we want to protect them because these are the rarest pine trees in all of North America. Okay, here in our park in San Diego, we only have 5,000 of these trees left. May sound like a lot, but it's really not. And so what I'm going to do today is we're going to go on a hike to visit one of the biggest Torrey pine trees here at the Torrey Pines Extension. Let's go. We not only are trying to protect the native Torrey pine trees in our park, but also a lot of the plants and animals that live here as well. So as we go through here, I want you guys to appreciate how many different kinds of plants we have here that we're trying to protect. Here at Torrey Pines State Reserve, we're trying to protect over 800 species of plants and animals. Let's see what we can find over here. Oh, wow, you guys are lucky. I don't know if you could see that very clearly, but we have these beautiful yellow flowers over here, and a native bee just flew through. It was black in coloration, metal black. Let's see if it flies back. Yeah, we'll kind of go along over here and try to spot other things around. But as we kind of walk towards here, I want to show you how big they can get, okay? So a normal Torrey pine tree, they can actually get up to 60 feet high. 60 feet high. And so I'm around 5'1.5". And let's see if we can compare myself to the 60 feet tree. But as we go along here, this Torrey pine tree, how old do you think Torrey pine trees can get? One of the rarest pine trees in all of North America. How big do you think they can, how old do you think they can get? How old?
Like 200 years.
200 years? Okay, any other guesses? That's a really good guess.
About 50.
50? Okay, yeah, that's a good guess. Yeah, you guys are all very close. So a Torrey pine tree can live around up to 80 to 120 years. So a little bit older than the oldest person in the world. Kind of cool, huh? All right.
Hey Johnson, sorry, I had a quick question.
Yeah,
So,
Hope.
what was the name of the yellow flower that you were showing us? The one with the native bee?
Yeah, so the one that you just saw, the yellow, it's called the yellow pincushion. Here in San Diego, these trees were part of an ancient woodland. And this woodland used to fill a lot of Southern California, like San Diego, Los Angeles, all around. And so we're going to go over here and we're going to take a look up close and see what we can find, okay? This right here, white sage, it actually smells kind of funny. I like it. Sage is kind of like you can actually get honey from them. If you go to your local farmer's market, you'll be able to get like white sage honey. And this is where it's from. And that's also thanks to bees as well. I don't know if you guys can hear, okay? But let's take a look over here. Listen carefully. But up there's actually some hummingbirds that's telling other birds that this is my territory. Hey, get out of here. Let's take a look. Let's see if we can spot it. Listen carefully. It sounds like a little. I think it spotted our presence and it kind of went away. So what makes the Torrey pine tree so special here? The Torrey pine tree has these bundles here that we call a fascicle. Okay, so fascicle comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 needles of 5 for every fascicle, for every bundle. This is for the Torrey pine tree, and only for the Torrey pine tree. No other tree here in San Diego for pine trees have these needles just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Most pine trees anywhere in the world, you're going to see bundles of 2s or 3s. It's not very common that you see 5. And the person who actually first discovered the Torrey pine trees here in San Diego, his name was Charles Christopher Perry. And this was a long, long time ago. It's over 200 years ago, in the 1800s. There was this gentleman, he was a medical doctor, and he came over to San Diego. And when he first saw these trees, he was like, That's super weird. I've never seen trees like this before. When you see pine trees, do you think of high mountain or low mountain areas? Most people think high mountain areas, okay? And they're right. That's where most pine trees hang out at. But here in San Diego, here at Torrey Pines, we actually have these pine trees at very low elevations, around 200 to 300 feet in elevation. And they're the rarest because they only grow here and nowhere else in the entire world, okay, natively. There's a small island off of Santa Barbara they also grow on, but that's about it. Let's take a look over. We're gonna see their tree trunks, okay, to see how big they can get. Follow me. So, the Torrey pine tree actually has a lot of cool things going on. You guys see all this sap right here? The special sap here, this is what we call resin. And we actually have these Native Americans called the Kumeyaay that used to live in these areas. Kumeyaay, they are the Native Americans that lived in this land. And they actually use the Torrey pine trees as well. At home, let's say when you break like a bowl or you break like a cup, for example, how do you fix it? You fix it with glue? Do you think the Kumeyaay during those times had glue? Yes or no? No, they did not have glue. So they actually had to use the resin in order to glue broken pieces together. Now, let's take a look closer over here. I think, does that kind of look like nesting material to you? Yeah? On this Torrey pine tree, it looks like there's a bird that has been hanging out. And it looks like they've been trying to make this area using the little needles here as nesting material. In fact, I want to show you guys. So what dropped earlier was, look at this black feather. What bird in San Diego do you think lives here that could have black feathers? Any ideas?
A crow?
A crow, yes, it could be a crow. What's another bird that could live here that has black feathers? I'll give you a hint. It starts with an R. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Up in the trees? If you heard that high pitch kind of, that sound right there, that's a hummingbird. And the hummingbird's warning me, saying, hey, this is my territory. I want you out of here. Let's see if we could hear it again. Did you guys hear that? As you can hear, and as you can see, the Torrey pine tree is actually home to a lot of different bird species. Just like the raven. So the other blackbird that I was talking about is the raven. Just like the raven and also the crow. Very good, you guys. Let's see what else is around here. Well, turns out that the tree here actually has, right over here, the Torrey pine tree actually drops these pine cones.
That's a really big pine
Have
cone.
you ever seen a pine cone before? Yeah, so this is the female part of the tree. So the Torrey pine tree has both male and female parts. And when a pine cone grows, they typically drop, let me try to find some over here. So this is the girl part of the pine cone. They have both parts. So the boy is actually really small like this, and they actually are found at the bottom of the trees versus the females, the pine cones here, they're found at the very, very, very top. And sometimes, if you see a really strong wind flow, like a blow through, you'll see these pine cones try to drop down at the floor, and sometimes it could hit someone's head. It's kind of crazy like that. But inside, if you see inside these pine cones, they typically have these little seeds right here. For each scale, they typically have one, and they have another one here, two seeds per scale, just like that. 2 seeds per scale. And when the seeds could actually stay on the pine cones on the top of those trees for up to 10 years sometimes. So up to 10 years. And so when the pine cone drops down, okay, so when that pine cone's dropping down from really high up to the bottom, guess what? Those seeds actually end up at the floor here. And with enough watering, or let's say some squirrel or animal eats it, and then they digest it through and they poop it out, all that ends up into our dirt here, into our soil here. And that's how Torrey pine trees, new Torrey pine trees, babies grow. And Torrey pine tree babies, we call them seedlings. Okay, so seedlings, they grow out and become a new Torrey pine tree. Now, we also have some other things that rely on the Torrey pine tree for survival. We're going to take a look over here. Let's see here. I see something that comes out only at nighttime. Let's see if the camera can try to capture it, okay? It's very faint, but do you see that there's a webbing over here? So this is a webbing of probably, could be an orb weaver, but I see its home to catch its prey. But its actual home is that little circle right over there. I'm pointing my finger right to it. Do you see that? Pine tree is home to a lot of different, and even one of my pets at home. So this is my friend, Darky. Darky is around 3 years old, and Darky is a darkling beetle. You guys see that? Oh, Darky. Darky is a darkling beetle.
Oops.
It is called a decomposer. Has anybody ever heard of the word decomposer before? What does the word decomposer mean to you?
It means breaking down objects.
Yeah. So that's right. So the darkling beetle, its job is to break down dead or decaying stuff. So at home, we kind of give it some dead or decaying carrots to eat, some leftover apples that we have. But here at the park, what it does is sometimes we have dead Torrey pine trees. And they actually break down the dead or decaying Torrey pine bark. But we also have another beetle in our park that's actually doing this. That's kind of trying to survive on the Torrey pine tree itself, but it's not really helping it. You see, over here, we have a bark of the Torrey pine tree. And what's happening in our park is you see these holes over here? But we actually have another kind of beetle that's really, really, really tiny. You see my fingernail? It's the size of half my fingernail, these bark beetles. And sometimes it's even smaller than that. And so what they do is they actually drill through these trees and they create these grooves right here that we call galleries, the galleries of the tree bark. And so what the beetles do is they eat their way around and they actually hurt the trees. Now, who here has ever been to any park in San Diego and ever seen these darkling beetles like Darky here? Has anybody seen them crawling around the trails before? So these guys here, have you ever seen them go on their self-defense mechanism? You know what they do to protect themselves? What they do, you see, it's not very threatened right now, but when they feel threatened, they actually point their butt right at you. They're going to point that butt right in the sky, and then they look like they're ready to spray you, but they actually don't spray anybody. They're really harmless and very cute and easy to take care of. But you know what? The Native Americans also have noticed this a long time ago. So when they lived here in our park, they also noticed that. And there used to be a Cochiti Indian myth that goes kind of like this. So the beetle's job, they believe that the beetle's job was actually to help put stars into the night sky. So every day when the moon goes up and when the sun goes down, they're going to be depositing the stars in the night sky. But it's like you, kind of like you and me. When we do the same thing again and again, it gets kind of old, right? It gets kind of tiring. And so what happens is you get kind of careless And one day, this beetle had this giant bucket of stars and it accidentally spilled it, and it created the Milky Way. And in shame for what it's done, this darkling beetle, they say that whenever a person or a coyote or a bobcat walks through, that this darkling beetle will hide its face in shame, hide its face in the dirt in shame to say sorry for what it's done. It's kind of sad, but cute story, right? It all comes from this little darkling beetle here. It's very important to our Torrey pine tree because it helps break down the dead and decaying material around the Torrey pine tree. So it prevents like problems like root rot or problems like rotting and things like that for our tree. But let's see, take a look over here. Now I wanted to show you guys how big this tree is, okay? So who's here has ever hugged a tree before? Who's ever hugged the tree before? Okay. Now, I know that you guys are not here with me, but I would like you guys to kind of hug the tree with me, okay? We want to thank the tree because the tree, what does a tree do for you? At home, what does a tree do for you?
It creates oxygen for us to breathe.
Creates oxygen for us to breathe. Very good. Uh-huh. How about when you're hot? What does this tree do for you?
Give you air.
Yeah, make paper, give you air. How about when you're really, really hot and you have nowhere to go? What does the tree do for you?
It creates shade for you.
Very good. Yeah, make shade for you, right? So the tree can do so many things. Sometimes, let's say I'm super hot, like today, it could be kind of warm, and I want to find a nice place to read a good book or rest. I have the tree to thank for this. The trees can produce the oxygen that we breathe. It can help us with the carbon dioxide that we exhale. They actually take that in, right? Very good. And it's actually very useful to all the plants and animals, other plants and animals that rely on the Torrey pine tree in order to survive. Now, I want everybody to join me here. We're going to thank this tree here and all the trees on Torrey pine, okay? So we're gonna do like a virtual hug, okay? We're gonna do an e-hug, okay? You guys ready? All right, so I want you guys to do like this kind of motion right here, just like this kind of motion here. We're gonna give this tree a big hug here, like this. Oh, here we go. Oh, thank you, tree. Everybody say thank you, tree.
Thank you, tree.
Thank you, tree. Thank you for providing us all a place to live, for trees to produce paper so we can have something to write on, shade for us to rest on, and also helping us produce oxygen. So really appreciate you, tree. And I hope that you stay here forever and ever, as long as you can, over 120 years, okay? Now, I know that this is one of many trees that you've seen before, but at home, what do you think you can do to help protect trees? What do you think you can do to make sure that trees stay on planet Earth for a very, very long time? Any ideas? If you can help out your environment to make these trees strong by watering them and caring for them, or at home, you can actually plant new seeds. Now, I think it's time that the time is up. It looks like it's 3:30. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this little hike. And thank you so much for listening, for your attention and paying a closer look at our Torrey pine trees here.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much. And
Thank you.
I hope that when the park opens up, you come and visit us, okay? Thank you guys. Take care.
Bye, Johnson.
Goodbye. Bye, Hope. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.